Now back to Inside Real Estate. Here's Mike the Realtor.
Hey folks, we are back. InsideRealEstateRadio.com is the website. InsideRealEstateRadio.com is the website. Let's talk a little bit of insurance. We got Mr. Richard Tonihka right here, right now. Over at Goosehead. His website, richardtagency.com, by the way. richardtagency.com, by the way.
And let me save you time and money by shopping you with over 25 different carriers and making sure that you get the best policy at the best price. And we always talk about policy first. The thing that I would like to talk about today is claims. I've run into a rash of people that are absolutely amazed that they have claims on their records. It's so funny that most people don't know. It's just like a credit report. You should know exactly what is on your credit report, just like you should know what's on your insurance report, because everyone has an insurance score, just like you have a credit score. And so when you're looking at all this, there is nothing that should be on your claims history that you do not know about. And I'm just amazed that within the past couple of weeks that the people that I've talked to are absolutely floored that they'd had, I don't have any claims. I was like, I can't talk about any names or anything, but
Right.
I had one gentleman that he had 14 different claims on his auto policy by himself, not counting his the other people in his family. Or it's not even counting his home insurance as well, that he had more than a few claims as well. And claims are going to affect you differently at different, depending on how they come out. But the first thing that you do, if you think that you have a claim, and then we're talking strictly house right now, we're not talking about the auto. We can talk about that later if you want. But looking at the house, if you think you have a claim, the first thing that you need to do is call your agent. Make sure you call your agent to find out, okay, this is our game plan. This is what we're going to do. Okay. Because you have a deductible on your house. There is absolutely no point in finding out that the amount of damage on your house is the same amount as your deductible. Because let's say you have a $250,000 house, you have $2,500 worth of damage. That's your deductible. You just filed a claim. You're going to get $0 from the insurance company to fix whatever happened. And now you have a claim on your history. And depending on what kind of claim it is, it's going to affect you in a different manner, because there are some carriers that if it is weather related, wind, hail, tornado, something like that happens to your house, there's nothing you can do about it. You can't pick up your house and move it to a different location to where the insurance company isn't going to pay anything. But there are some carriers that will still penalize you for it. They're going to give you a surcharge, even though there's nothing that you can do about the weather in your area. And so when you're looking at it and you have, let's say it's a choice between wind and hail, or if it's a water claim. Now, if it's a water claim, that's going to really affect you, because depending on how much it is, some carriers will simply not touch it if it's over a certain dollar amount. Doesn't matter that it's the only claim that you've ever had in your life. For about 3 years, there are some carriers that are simply going to say, hey, you know what, Mike, we love you. We think you're a great guy, but we are not going to offer you insurance because you had a water claim that is in excess of this dollar amount. And so until 3 years from the date of that accident occurs, we're not going to offer you insurance. But 3 years and 1 day after that, come on over.
We're back.
We're ready for you to jump in our field.
That's so nice of them.
And most of us, let's be honest. When is the last time that you looked at your home insurance?
Yeah, I know.
Probably the last time. I mean, when you first signed up and you were talking to the agent and you knew everything about it, or you knew exactly what they were telling you about it.
You knew the price. Let's be honest. They knew the price, right?
Exactly.
Most people don't go too far into the details.
Exactly. I mean, you touch on the highlights, but you don't go item by item and talk about everything that is included, and more importantly, the things that are excluded from your policy. So you really don't know exactly everything about your policy.
Right.
And so the first thing that you do, if you have a claim, call your agent. Let's see, this is what happened. Let's make sure that it's covered under your policy. If it is, then before we ever call the 800 number to put a claim in, we're going to send our guys out. Now, this is true for everything except for a big hole in your roof. I mean, you got to get someone out there immediately.
Right.
But if it's something that can wait, or you're going to set those appointments up, don't make the claim, then call the agent to let them know, because that's what we're here for. Now, if you have an 800 number, that's completely different. You can call and ask a question, and that might be counted as a claim, because how many of us call the insurance company just to simply talk? Oh, you know what? I just decided I want to talk about my insurance policy today. Nobody does that.
Right.
There's something always in the background, and so that's the reason a lot of times they will count that as a claim, even though you didn't put in a claim. Nobody calls an insurance company just to talk. There's some kind of damage, and you're trying to fish for information, and that's the reason that anytime they're being contacted, if you're calling that 800 number, it's going to be counted. It's going to be noted in your file.
Yep. And remember, the conversations are recorded.
Yes.
So whatever you said when you called in, even if it was haphazardly, it is on recording.
Absolutely. And so when we're looking at this, we're going to have our people out there. We're going to know exactly how much they say is going to be the damage. And I try to send people out that really may or may not get the bid to do the job. And so you're getting their best price, and you're also getting their honest opinion on, is there enough damage right now in this house under this circumstance or this risk to justify putting in a claim? If there isn't, look at doing it out of pocket, because in the long run, it's going to save you money. Right. Although you're coming out of pocket to do it, you're going to end up saving money, because you're not going to have a claim. A zero claim is the worst. I hate those. And then, because once you have a zero claim, the insurance carrier and everyone that you try shopping with, because now you're mad that they didn't give you the money to fix whatever damage was done to your house. Now you're mad, and so you want to shop it and you want to go somewhere else. But now that claim is on your history, and the next carrier is going to say, okay, well, that's fine. We love you. We think you're great, but we still need to see the documentation that this has been repaired.
Right.
We know that there was damage. We know that it just didn't meet your deductible, or it was denied for whatever reason, but we still want to see that work was done on your house.
Yeah. And that's important to mention, because folks, when you do call in and you try to run a claim, like you say, and that you see these in these reports, you'll see these claims of zero, which, like, okay, well, nothing was paid out, but it's not that innocent, because they called in for a reason. There was some type of damage. And so when you are switching carriers, they want to know what was up. Was there really something there? What was it about? All this. And so it's important. You're 100%, 1,000% right. Before you call the 800 number to make a claim or even inquire about a claim, that's why it's great to have you here locally, and, just call Richard, talk about it first, talk it out.
Yes.
Because you don't know some of the hidden ramifications of just calling the 800 number.
Yes. And the best thing that I can do is sit there and just kind of guide you through the process, because not only am I here to guide you, but I'm also here to fight for you. And any good agent that is out there is going to do the same thing for their clients, making sure that they're taken care of when they need it. And so you're going through and you're making sure that this claim, that you're being treated fairly, that the work's getting done the way it should be done. And keep in mind, it's more of a balancing act of making sure that I'm taking care of my customer, and I'm making sure that I'm doing everything right for the carrier also, because we don't want to strain any relationship, but I do want everything to get taken care of for my customers absolutely as quickly as possible, and with as little out of their pocket as possible. And so knowing that this risk or this damage is covered under this, you kind of know when we set everything up, you know exactly how much you're going to pay out, and you know exactly who's doing the work. And just because an adjuster comes out and says that it's going to cost this much, well, the reason that we do all of our legwork before we ever put the claim in is because I want to make sure that my customer knows exactly what they're going to get and what is fair for them. And so if the adjuster comes out and he lowballs us for whatever reason, then we have, well, here's the documentation that says this is the damage, this is the damage, this is the damage. And just because an adjuster says something doesn't mean that that's the final word on a claim. It just means that if you agree with it, then we go from there. If you don't, or once you start getting into the job, then you start and you find more damage, then we add that on. But, well, we don't add it on. Whoever's doing the work does it. But that's one of the things that, don't be afraid to call your agent to make sure that they're fighting for you and that they're making sure that you're covered the way you think you're covered.
Here's a question for you. So if you say, let's say you're on the 800 number with an adjuster or a claims assistant, whatever the case may be, and you say, okay, I'm going to withdraw. Let's just say it's not going to work out to, run the claim. And if you tell them I'm withdrawing the claim, is it still going to be a claim of zero on there?
Yes, it's still going to be a zero claim. They know that the damage was done. Because
you told them something happened.
Exactly. And it's still going to, you don't, like I said earlier, you don't necessarily even have to say that there is damage, or you could be asking about a specific coverage within your policy, and that may be counted as a claim. I had one customer that came over a few years ago because the agent that they had ended up, every time that they called in, he had them call the 800 number to ask the question because he didn't know what he didn't know the answers. So every time that they called into the 800 number to find out the question about their home policy, it was being counted as a claim. And they ended up getting so many of them that their carrier ended up canceling them, even though nothing had been paid out over the past 3 years. It was just simply because they asked questions.
They called to ask questions.
Yes, and they were counted as claims. So
unreal.
Yes, it's amazing.
Well, folks, to stave off all of this, you need to get with Richard. You need to make sure your policies are with him. Trust me, he's going to take care of you, not only home, auto, toys, RVs, motorcycles, all kinds of good stuff, life and more. He's going to be there for you to call and talk about these questions. And guess what? They're not going to count as a claim against you.
No.
His website, richardtagency.com, richardtagency.com. Folks, he can shop over 20 companies behind the scenes. He can bundle multiple companies together for different policies. The things that he can do are pretty amazing, not to mention best policies and saving you money. Richard Tonihka, Goosehead Insurance Agency, richardtagency.com. Folks, short break. See you in a few.